Hello, and welcome to another session of our Arizona Hip Historian Virtual Happy Hour Tour. I am Brenda Holt with Arizona AARP. We are the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence and nearly 38 million members across the nation, and approximately 900,000 right here in Arizona, we work to strengthen communities and we advocate for what matters most to families. During the month of October, we will raise awareness on Medicare and Social Security decisions that focus on enhancing your financial health. AARP is a wise friend and fierce defender and a trusted source of Medicare and Social Security information and resources. To find these resources, please visit us at aarp.org/Social Security, aarp.org/Medicare, and for more information, please visit us at aarp.org/Arizona. Enjoy your session.
Ladies and gentlemen, non-white every folk, welcome to the show. Get ready to meet your host for the night, Arizona's very own hip historian himself, Marshall Shore.
Well, hello and good evening. I want to welcome you all to Arizona History Happy Hour. Now, things might be a little wonky because we are actually recording right now in the Sanguinetti house in Yuma, Arizona. There's a conference going on, and so I decided, let's go over and have some fun. But, I want to welcome you all to Arizona History Happy Hour. Now, we are pre-recording this because, as you can see, there's daylight outside. Oh, I guess I should go that way so you can see the little golden skeleton behind me. But welcome everybody. So, so we're in Yuma right now. And, it's an exciting day for across Arizona on October 20th. Well, I wouldn't say exciting. Maybe that's not the best choice of words, because back on this date in 1931, October 1931, on October 20th, was when some famous trunks finally made their way to LA. And the bodies of two women were found in those trunks. And it then became one of the most notorious murder cases. And the search for Winnie Ruth Judd was on. And so, if you'd like to know how that ends, there's a couple of books out there about it. There is also my friend Scott, and actually I'll post on Facebook a vintage marionette movie that he did that's really good, all about Winnie Ruth Judd. And he did a really good job of researching. Now, it is also Red Fruit Day. Fruit first became really popular in the Victorian area, which I thought was appropriate for being in this house. Now, during that time, people discovered brandy, added some fruit, and found out that it preserved it, as well as made a lovely, tasty treat for adults. Now, it is also National Sloth Day. You don't have to do much of anything. You don't have to move too fast, or you can just kind of lounge around as a way to kind of say, we're happy you're here, Mr. Sloth and Mrs. Sloth. Now, even though they're not native here, they are native to South America and Central America, but they become really kind of pop culture icons recently, which I think is kind of funny. It is also National Statistic Day. Now, if you bother to look at the weather, then guess what? You use stats today. And so it's just a chance to say, hey, all those numbers that we get are really important, and we're happy that they are here. It is also National Osteoporosis Day, which is meant to raise awareness of and for the prevention and diagnosis and treatment of osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is a disease which is the density and strength of the bones when that's reduced. Now, in the US and Europe, 30% of all menopausal women have osteoporosis. So just so folks are aware. Now, it is also the collision of sweet and savory, chicken and waffles day, as we can celebrate with a plate full of goodness and badness on the same plate. So have a lovely piece of fried chicken and a lovely waffle dipped in lots of maple syrup. That will make your night so much better. All right. So what can you expect on Arizona History Happy Hour? Well, you know, we always do a bit of trivia. We have a little bit of Little Arizona coming up, some music history from the vault. And so one thing that's interesting is I think everything except Little Arizona is all Yuma based, including our beverage for the evening. So, oh my gosh, we are going to have so much fun talking about all kinds of cool things. So if this is your first time watching, you might wonder, who is that man and why is he on my screen and why is he so fuzzy? Well, you know, we're in an old house. The Wi-Fi may not be as good as other places, but you know, it's an old house. And so next time you're in Yuma, come and check out the Sanguinetti house. It's a beautiful house. And by the way, did I mention that there's a gold skeleton behind me? So now my name is Marshall Shore. I'm also known as the Hip Historian, which means I get to play a lot with Arizona history. So I got here about 23 years ago from Brooklyn. I was working in a Carnegie building and decided to trade all that gorgeous wood and snow for sunshine and a lovely library in South Phoenix that had this rich oral tradition of the community. And so that got me looking at Arizona in a whole different way. And then we promptly moved into a beautiful 1956 ranch that was oh so many tones of beige. I'm happy to say now it is seafoam and cantaloupe. And you know, and actually if we do that, that'll make that, there we go, much easier. And so that's what my kitchen looks like today. All that buttercream yellow tile and matching appliances that still work like a charm. But you know, the moment we got here, all we kept hearing about how there was no history here, but knew that wasn't true because every time I would go somewhere, whether it was on foot, on a bike, in a car, on a bus, it didn't matter how or where I was going, I kept running across so many amazing people, places, and stories. And then there's that post-war boom that I think in a lot of ways changed the Arizona that we all know and love. All those GIs that were stationed here, trained here, or passed through and went somewhere else. And after the war, they moved here in huge numbers looking for a new way of life, which many of them found. Now, I'm also called the Hip Historian, which means I get to play with history. And actually, we are in Yuma because it is the Arizona State Historic Preservation Conference. So we are talking about Yuma and all kinds of things all about Arizona for the next couple days. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Actually, I know there were actually some pre-conferences starting today. I had some friends that came in for that. And so, you know, we've been doing a lot with Local Buzz, which is an app that you can download and learn about all kinds of cool things going on in your own city. We also have our next haunted history tour of downtown Phoenix, and that is coming up the second Saturday, which I think is November 12th coming up. So you can always find out more information as soon as I do my job and get that listed, it'll be there. And so, but you can find all kinds of things on hiphistorian.com. Now I'm going to be making my way right after Thanksgiving down to the Greenway House where we're doing dinner and a seance. Now I know some of you have already found the chat, but you can always reach out to me outside of that, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, email. or even through my website, and it's all Hip Historian. Although I just realized my Instagram is actually hip_historian. And so, sometimes password changes or you lose them, and then there you go. So, hip_historian. All right. And so I'm so excited because, coming to Yuma, I was like, hey, PJ, what am I going to have? And he was like, well, you know what you're going to do? You're going to go to the prison. After watching Orange is the New Black, the idea of having to go to the prison for booze, I was not very happy with that option. But I did find it was for Prison Hill Brewing Company, which is right down the street from the prison. And so I was able to get, this is they call jailbait, and it is called, actually they wrote on there. So it is a blonde beer, and Prison Hill is right downtown Yuma, right on Main Street. The street's looking really good. Oh my gosh. And so that's what's in my glass right now. A little bit of jailbait. Nice and light, perfect for a nice kind of summery, almost fall-like day outside. All right. So now we have come to Little Arizona. So, we're actually talking about a place that's not far from here. So Quartzsite, Arizona, which is in La Paz County, which has a population of under 4,000. Let's see, exact number is 3,756. It was founded back in 1867. Now, originally, Quartzsite was called Tyson Wells. And there's a monument that tells you that it was all about a man named Tyson had a non-military fort built in like the 1850s, and he dug a well by hand. And so that's supposedly where that marker sits, is right on top of where that well was. Later, it became a stagecoach station for folks traveling between Ehrenberg and Prescott, because Prescott was the capital city at the time and had lots of people going to visit it from not just Arizona, but also California. But, there was also camels that had made their way from the east side all the way across, and that was High Jolly. And so he eventually wound up settling in Quartzsite. And when he passed away, after that, he was then given this pyramid, with which, if you look on top of it, it is a camel. And so that reflects, and they just did a really great remodel of kind of that cemetery. And so now there's parking, and so it's easy to find, and signage, because that helps you find that cemetery. You can also go visit Joanne's Gum Museum. Now, it's not open every day. You got to give her a call, but she is happy to take you on a tour of her gum museum. And it is things that have been found nearby. It is all about the history of gum. So fun times ahead for you. Now, you might think, I've only stopped in Quartzsite on my way to get gas to California. But, you might have actually have seen it if you watched Nomadland. A lot of it took place in Quartzsite, and actually getting some tourism because of that. And now people are living that RV life. If you haven't seen Nomadland, I would say it's well worth watching. Now, it's not an easy, uplifting movie, but it's very poignant and really an interesting story. And it won 3 Academy Awards. Now, you can also go, they have a flea market, and it is the Flea Market to beat out flea markets. I mean, stuff comes from all over the place. And so it is so much fun to go wander out there and just see what you can find. And so now we come to the point where we have a special guest, and I'm so excited to bring on my friend Kelly. Hello, Kelly.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. And yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me as a guest. This is an honor, and I'm really excited about this.
So for folks that don't know anything about you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name is Kelly Miller. I live in Yuma, Arizona. I was born in San Diego, lived in Chicago for a bit, and then moved here in 1998. And I can't even believe it, but it's been 24 years. Finished high school, spent some time going to college, started my teaching career in Phoenix, and then came back to Yuma, got married, and started my family. So, where's the time gone? It's crazy. But I work in the agriculture industry, and then I also have a blog and a podcast that really highlights all of the amazing things about living in the desert.
Wow. And and because I think the Wi-Fi is so bad, that's why you are actually really good. So you're on a phone. It's like I'm using Wi-Fi and it's not so good. So that's why I keep freezing. But what I love about this software is it gives voice priority. So even if they can't see me, folks can still hear me. So the important stuff. Now, I know we've got some trivia coming up. And so, we don't do trivia like most bar trivia. It is not just about what you know or don't know. It's more than just the answer. Because what we're going to do is we're going to go through the questions and the multiple choice answers. So you just take a jab at one of those answers if you don't know. And then we're going to come back and talk about those answers and the stories behind them. Now you can keep track. I know if Anita's watching, I know she has her special notebook. Oh, and I should also ask you, so what are you drinking?
I am lucky enough to be drinking the Jailbait Blonde as well from Prison Hill, and it is so good. So thank you.
You are welcome. Indeed. All right. So you keep track of your trivia however you would like, on a notebook, in the chat, whatever makes you happy. All right. So our first question is, what was Yuma's first name? Was it A, Arizona City, B, Colorado City, Dodge City, or D, Virginia City? Which one of those was Yuma's first name? Oh, that's a good one. All right, question 2. In what year did the Homestead Act entice farmers to settle in this sandy desert? Is it A, 1917, B, 1905, C, 1895, or D, 1862? What year did the Homestead Act entice farmers to settle in this sandy desert? All right. Question 3. In what year were medjool dates brought to the Yuma area? Was it 1899, B, 1921, C, 1937, or D, 1944? I just picked some up over at Dateland on my way out here. All right. Question 4. Yuma is known as the winter capital of the world for growing which commodity? A, lettuce, B, lemons, C, cotton, or D, watermelon? All right. So which do they grow a lot of here in the winter? It's one of those produce. All right. Question 5. The significance of the ocean-to-ocean bridge in 1915 was that it was the first highway crossing on the lower Colorado River. Is that true or false? Ooh, that's a good one. All right. Question 6. Yuma had several productive mining sites. Which substance was the most popular to find? A, lithium, B, gold, C, platinum, or D, silver? So which one of those was a popular substance to find? All right. Question 7. Oh, we now have a little bit of a movie question. All right. Who starred in the 1957 film 310 to Yuma. Was it A, Audie Murphy, B, Alan Lane, C, Ben Johnson, or D, Glenn Ford? Who starred in that 1957 classic movie, 310 to Yuma? Yuma is the confluence of which two rivers? A, the Colorado River and Santa Cruz River. B, Colorado River and Gila River. C, Colorado River and Salt River River. Salt River River. Salt River. There, we'll just do that. Okay. D, Colorado River and the Virgin River. All right. Well, I have a feeling one of them. So I think one of the rivers must be the Colorado River. But the other one, that's the one that's up for debate right now. So which one of those other rivers do you think meets the Colorado River right here at Yuma? All right. Question 9. What is the greatest draw for international tourists to travel to Yuma? A, housing prices. B, the Colorado River. C, the climate. Or D, the community. But I would like to add E, the Yuma Territorial Prison. Well, I guess also historic sites. I would also say, also the Sanguinetti house in that. But that prison, good gosh. Yeah, would never want to wind up there as only as a tourist, and no other way would I want to hang out there.
Me either.
Right. And, exactly. Oh my gosh, that must not have been a fun place at all. All right, question 10. Arizona has 3 state universities. How many have on-site facilities right here in Yuma? Is it A, none? Oh, I hope not. Okay, B, 1, C, 2, or D, 3. So how many of those 3 universities have a presence right here in Yuma? All right. Well, you are locking in your final answers. We are going to go on to some music history. And so we are going to talk about Bud and Jerry Isaac. So Bud is a pioneer pedal steel guitarist. He created a legendary sound using door hinges, wires to modify his steel guitar and make it something completely unique. Now, he was born in Indiana in the late 20s, hopped a train when he was 14 to Nashville, and got himself a gig on the Opry. But as soon as they discovered how old he was, they sent him home. But about a decade later, in the early 50s, he would change music history forever when he played on Webb Pierce's Slowly, which became the most played song of 1954 and #1 on the charts for 7 weeks. The next year, Bud played on 11 #1 country songs. Over time, he would compose and record several classic steel guitar instrumentals. So, all that music that Bud made. But what I love is his wife, Jerry, was the country music sweetheart. She plays bass and has a sweet singing and yodeling style. She started performing at the age of 3 on CBS radio station out in Kansas. And she also worked at the Tennessee Ernie Ford Museum in California. She is also a member of the Nashville Country Music Hall of Fame, and they were both living right here in Yuma. Jerry still does live here in Yuma. And if you can see one of his steel guitars that he designed and helped build this show, Bud. So there you go, a little bit of music history right here in Yuma. All right, so now who is ready for some answers? I'm sure lots of people want to hear. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what was Yuma's first name?
All right, are you ready for me to share?
Indeed. Jump on in.
All right, so I'm going to give you a little background first, but Yuma has been given a few names before the official name of Yuma, but the first settlers here were indigenous people, and their descendants now occupy the Cocopah and Quechan reservations. So in 1849, the gold rush was really popular, and a lot of people were coming through this area in search of gold. So the name was Colorado City at that time. And so that was the correct answer, is Colorado City. But some of you may have chosen Arizona City. And that was the name that was incorporated in 1871. But our current name actually comes from the Spanish word, and it's spelled Humo, and that means smoke. And they say that the local Quechan practice creating smoke clouds to induce rain.
I never knew that's where the name came from. That's really cool.
I know, and we always need like rain here. So I shouldn't say always. The farmers wouldn't agree with me, but sometimes we need rain here. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. All right. And what year did the Homestead Act entice farmers to settle in this sandy desert and grow things?
All right. Did anyone choose 1862? This was when the act was signed into law by President Abraham Lincoln. So the Homestead Act of 1862 was a revolutionary concept for distributing land. So farmers were given, in this area, were given 80 acres of land after they just had to apply for it, and then they had to pay a small filing fee. So my great-grandparents were actually part of that program. And we still farm on those 80 acres. And it is where our main operation is held today. They arrived in 1917 from Texas, and they arrived just 5 years after Arizona became a state.
Wow.
So yeah, we have some long, strong roots in Arizona.
Indeed, you do. That's really cool. And that you're still farming that original homestead.
Yes, so we have grown the farm quite a bit, but it's really special that where the house was, where my grandfather was born and raised, and where my mom and her siblings all lived, that's where we are working still today.
Wow, very cool. All right. And what year did medjool dates get right here to the Yuma area?
So I hope a lot of you enjoy eating medjool dates because they're really good for you. But it's actually really interesting. The tree originated in Morocco, and the plants were diseased, and they were afraid that the medjool date tree would be extinct. So they brought, I believe it was 11 trees to the United States, and 6 of them ended up going to Bard, California. So that is just right across the river from us. It's very close. And so that was in 1944 that this happened. And 6 of those trees we're still standing as of within like the last month, but then we just lost one due to our serious monsoon season that we've had. So that's sad, but it's pretty incredible how long those date trees can last. And this is definitely in one of the few areas in the world where the medjool trees can grow, and our family grows dates as well. So if any of you guys are looking for some really fresh dates, look up Desert Fruit Farms. But it's wonderful that this area can produce this unique fruit that's so good for you.
Indeed. And good for car trips, because you just spit out the seed and you're good to go.
Yes. I mean, there's more protein in a date than a banana. You'd be shocked all the benefits.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So they're not just good and tasty.
No,
but really good for you.
Yes, really good for you. Lots of potassium, great source of fiber. Give you, like, if you're hungry, have a date and you're going to be good to go for a long time.
Wow. Had no idea they were that good for you. All right. So Yuma is known as the winter capital of the world for growing which commodity?
All right. The answer is lettuce. We are so proud here in Yuma that we are the winter lettuce capital of the world for lettuce. So we contribute 25% of the lettuce production in the United States annually. And it's pretty crazy because even though we live in this desert climate, we can grow a lot of different varieties of leafy greens. And the leafy greens industry in Arizona generates over $2 billion annually to Arizona each year. So that's a huge
Wow.
part of our state's industry. And each day between November and April, 1,000 to 1,200 semi truckloads of leafy greens leave Yuma daily to deliver all over the United
Wait. You said daily? That
States.
many trucks daily?
Daily. It's insane.
Oh my gosh.
So when you see these coolers that are holding all of the leafy greens cold before they go into the trucks, there are trucks lined up, and those drivers are working some long hours, that's for sure. But there's a lot that goes into those delicious salads that everybody eats, but it's really amazing, the trucks and the systems that are in place to get that fresh produce all over the country.
Yeah. I mean, oh my gosh, I had no idea it was that much.
Yes, and
And
American,
is there a festival that celebrates lettuce?
we used to, and I must say, it's a bummer that we don't have that anymore. And a lot of winter visitors shall come here looking for that festival. But maybe one day we'll be able to bring it back, because it is so important for locals and visitors to learn about agriculture. And it's really important too for people can and can't do around produce fields. For instance, like, you don't want to walk your dog in the field, or you want to pick up your trash and not let it blow into the field. So there's a lot of things that we really depend on, people being good stewards and, taking care of the produce as well.
Wow. All right. So here we are. Question 5. The significance of the ocean to ocean bridge in 1915 was that it was the first highway crossing on the lower Colorado River.
So the answer is true. Many of you, if you've driven through Yuma, you most likely have seen this bridge, and it's really nice in the evenings. It will light up, the ocean to ocean bridge, and there's a lot of history here. So this bridge is also the earliest example of a through truss bridge in Arizona, and the bridge carried the transcontinental ocean to ocean highway and later the US 80 until a new bridge was built in the 1950s. So it's pretty amazing, but some of you may not realize that steamships used to be on the Colorado River and carrying supplies and delivering them to Yuma, because Yuma was hustling and bustling. And so that bridge though really allowed people to continue their travels west with crossing the Colorado River. So it was a big deal, and I always enjoy that view so much, whether we're floating the river or you're driving over it. But it's nice, and I love the history there too.
Indeed. Well, I guess I know what I'm going to go look at tonight. All right. Question 6. Yuma had several productive mining sites. Which substance was the most popular to find?
Well, I'm thinking you guys probably all got this one right, but the answer is gold. So my great uncle was actually a miner in the Yuma area. But one thing I know, Marshall, you have visited this area, and I highly recommend anyone who comes to Yuma, you need to make a trip, a little day trip, pack your lunch, and take it out to the Castle Dome Mine Museum, because
Oh my God.
it's incredible. It's a ghost town. So everything is, it's like you're going back in history. It really is. But then you really need to take the tour to go down into the whole mine, because it's magnificent. And you'll see these fluorescent minerals that light up. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And, they talk about everything from, the Levi jeans that the miners wore. And anyways, you get to go down there. So as long as you're not claustrophobic, it is a tour for you.
It's a lot of fun. And it's really cool to see some of the old buildings, some of the old equipment. And you can still find in some places shotgun shells and sardine cans. So all kinds of fun stuff. All right. So that classic movie, 3:10 to Yuma, who starred in it?
Glenn Ford. So he is the answer to this question. So many of you may have seen the remake in 2007 that starred Russell Crowe. And that had to do with the plot of that movie. If you haven't seen it, it's about Ben Wade. He's an outlaw and he has to be transported on the train that's going to Yuma, and it leaves at 3:10. So I don't want to ruin the ending for you, but you need to see it if you haven't seen it. But also, like Marshall had mentioned earlier, the Yuma Territorial Prison is such a great historical site in Yuma. They have done an amazing job renovating it. And I mean, it's incredible. So that is a definite stop when you come to Yuma. And I know I go a lot if we have friends coming to visit, or, you know, my family and I, we just go because we haven't been, but finding out why people were in that prison and how they ever survived. I mean, not everyone did, but some did survive in that
Some
prison.
did survive, and how? I mean, oh my gosh, out there in the brutal heat.
Yes, and my favorite view there is if you go up the stairs of the guard tower and you can look out at the valley. It's just gorgeous. And if you are lucky enough to be there in the evening, it's beautiful.
Oh, that sounds amazing. All right, guess I have another place to go on my list. All right, Yuma is the confluence of which two rivers?
All right, so Marshall was right. I gave you guys one of the answers, the Colorado River. but but the other river is the Gila River. So we really appreciate the water that comes to Yuma because it is our lifeblood. So if we didn't have the river water, we wouldn't be surviving or being able to live here. So a lot of us really enjoy using the river water.
Oops, and we just lost. There you are.
I'm back. So in case you didn't hear me, a lot of us really, enjoy the river for recreation purposes. It's so wonderful to float the river, go kayaking. But also that is how our agriculture industry and many of our industries here, survive. So the water is really critical to us here in the desert. And so we're very, conservation of our water is really important. And the farming practices have really, it's incredible how they've evolved to make sure that they are using the least amount of water possible.
Oh, because I know it's like, I know the entire state is looking at water and how to best use that limited resource.
Yes. And we're still waiting to hear how a lot of people have come forward, right? The different water districts and have said, okay, we're going to cut back this much water or what will happen. But we haven't heard exactly how much everyone's going to be cut back. And if people are up for a road trip, I highly suggest, going to Glen Canyon Dam, and you can see the water levels. And it is startling to see, where the water lines once were and now where they are.
Indeed. Not know if people can hear, but there's also a plane flying overhead as well. So if you're wondering what that background noise is, I'm hungry, but not that hungry. So you don't hear me rumbling that much. But yes, no. I guess somebody said there's military planes doing different activities. I don't know quite what you would call, but yeah, so that's what's going on as well. But yes, water is a huge issue statewide. And you're right. And almost any of it's like going to see the dams and seeing how low they are. And all this rain, we need a lot more rain.
So true.
All right. Question 9. What is the greatest draw for international tourists to travel to Yuma?
Okay. I don't know what you chose, Marshall, but the answer is climate.
I thought it was, E. All those great historic sites. I mean, there's that great hotel downtown.
I know.
So there's all kinds of cool buildings.
No, Main Street is awesome. They have done such a great job renovating so many buildings, and so many of our small businesses that have opened up are wonderful. I love them all. I love shopping small. But we were hiking Telegraph Pass one time, and that is one of the more popular hikes when you're driving just like over the mountain when you leave Yuma to get then you drive to Weldon, and then you go on to Phoenix. And we were there, and we started talking to some other hikers, and they were from Canada, and they had come to Yuma because they Googled where is the sunniest place in North America. And Yuma, Arizona was the answer. And we're actually the sunniest place in the entire world, which is phenomenal. And we love that fact too about Yuma. And we have, for instance, we're the sunniest place on earth, shining 91% of daylight hours per year. So that's pretty good. So if anyone's lacking in vitamin D, this is the place to come.
Well, and it's like I was out here once and ran into some Canadians, and they were all talking about how happy they were getting so much sun because nobody back home was. So, and they were like, oh, look, we're going back with a tan.
And you can always spot the winter visitors because the rest of us will wear a jacket, and pants, and they're
completely right. And we're like in the winter time, it's like wearing the parkas and everything else, and they're like t-shirts and shorts and
yes. And we actually, I know like all of Arizona gets a lot of winter visitors, but Yuma sees like over 70,000 winter visitors that stay here each year.
Wow. I had no idea there were that many snowbirds coming here. That's great.
Yes. So yes, you can come back during the winter months, and our traffic, that's when our traffic is a little more congested.
With all the visitors and then all the lettuce trucks.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So question 10, Arizona has 3 universities. How many of them have an on-site facility right here in Yuma?
Well, I'm proud to say that all 3 of them, all of our state schools are represented here in Yuma. So we have Arizona State University, Northern Arizona, and my alma mater, University of Arizona. So, my family, we're big Arizona Wildcat fans, but it's really nice that all 3 of those schools are here. So people have an opportunity, if they can't travel out of town, that we have opportunities for them here locally.
Wow, that's great. All right. Now, I always like to ask people how they did, but, it's always more important, I think, that people realize, look at all the great questions. I mean, who knew there was that much lettuce coming out of Yuma? Oh, my gosh. So it's always about the stories. And so Kelly, thank you for coming on. Now, tell us a little bit about, so rumor has it you have a podcast.
Yes. So that was one of those things that I'd had my blog since I believe 2017. And I was like, you know what? Everyone's doing this podcast thing, so why can't I? So I started my podcast, and you were an amazing guest. I really appreciate you being a guest, Marshall. And I like to highlight people. Most of them are living in Arizona. There's a lot of small business owners. There are people that are just sharing their stories, and I feel like it's a really inspirational. So if you guys get a moment, you guys can check out the Life in the Desert podcast, and you can listen to it on any podcast streaming service that you prefer. But it's about time I come out with another episode.
Indeed. All right. Well, Kelly, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your night.
Thank you so much Thank you so much for having me on. This was awesome.
Oh, thank you. This is a blast. And we also get to hang out in the Sanguinetti house. How cool is that? And drink beer. So, indeed. All right. Have a great night, Kelly. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun getting to learn all that about Yuma and the Majul dates. And so From the Vault is something that, another little bit of Yuma trivia that I bet a lot of folks don't realize is, so if you ever get a cocktail and you got a piece of plastic in your cocktail, it's called a swizzle stick. And so I think one of the coolest things was finding out that, and let's see if we can make that bigger. There we go. And so, yeah, so actually the woman who basically was one of the major collectors of swizzle sticks was right here in Yuma. And so she helped kind of kick that crazy fad off. And she has also a great story. I've been actually researching her. And so I think it's pretty cool that I have a bunch of swizzle sticks all because of her and what she's been doing right here in Yuma. So, oh my gosh. All right. So all right. So now you'll see why I always say you should share if you're watching on Facebook, because, oh my gosh, we get so many fun stories on here. And next week, because it's so close to Halloween, we have Deb Branding on, who has written 10 books. She just had one that recently came out, basically Haunted Arizona. So that's going to be a really fun episode as well. So be sure and check that out next week. Next Thursday, 7 o'clock, same bat time, same bat channel. So now you'll see, if you have any questions, comments, please let me know. I love to hear from you all. In fact, that's where I get some of my best stories and some of my amazing guests. So as we get ready to say good evening, I want to give a shout out to Chris and Cole, who did that intro video, which I love so much, as well as PJ, who turned me on to Prison Hill Brewing. And so, because we're in Yuma and they are so good at growing things, we are going to see a little bit about Mask of the Yellow Moon, which happened always in the springtime. But because we're talking about growing things, we're going to hear a little bit about Mask of the Yellow Moon.
And speaking of extravaganzas, during most years between 1926 and 55, Phoenix College students joined those of the high schools in the Mask of the Yellow Moon, a music and dance pageant featuring literally a cast of 1,000. Staged at Montgomery Stadium on the Phoenix Union campus, the production often attracted national attention with themes of Americana and Arizona's history and heritage. A marvel of logistics, timing, and dramatic presentation.